mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Hello all, this is Dr. Tulika. I'm a senior consultant in cornea and refractive service at the Center for Sight. Can you imagine if I tell you that if I can remove your glasses in 16 seconds, is it believable? I don't think so you'll believe it. But yeah, with the new platform Anita, which is launched by Johnson & Johnson, this is the reality these days. I want to share my personal experience with Silk. This is a newly launched platform by Johnson & Johnson, which is bladeless, flapless, causing least of dryness, which will just remove one lenticule from your cornea and your glasses are removed. This is ultra fast, ultra short laser is used to remove your glasses. Almost 95 to 98% patient will experience 100% vision the next day, and the satisfaction rate is almost 100%. It is available only in few centers of India, and Center for Sight is one of the centers in India where Alita launched their platform. And we do the Silk surgery in Center for Sight in New Delhi. If you are above 18 and your refraction is stable for more than 6 months and you're looking for changing of your glasses or removing of your glasses, you don't want to wear glasses anymore, then Center for Sight is the option for you. We have all the options available from Silk to Smile to Contura, whichever you have heard about. So come and explore your option with Center for Sight.
Center for Sight, because we believe every eye deserves the best.
Good morning. Welcome to the press conference of Philippe Lazzarini, the Commissioner General of UNRWA until today. I would like to thank Mr. Lazzarini so very much. He is a friend of the Geneva Press Corps, and he has accepted to give us the last press conference of his tenure. So I'd like to thank him very much, say how privileged we've been to work with him all these years. And I'd like to give him the floor now for introductory remarks, and then we will open the floor to questions. Philippe.
Thank you. I should have known this. In fact, thank you so much, Alessandra, and thank you all for joining the press briefing today, and also for the interest you have constantly shown in Palestinian refugees and in the agency I was leading, UNRWA. Later this morning, after this press conference, I will be briefing member states on the immense challenges facing the agency. As you know, earlier this month, I wrote to the President of the General Assembly that UNRWA is nearing the end of its viability. I also recalled in this letter how in December 2023, I reported the killing of 130 personnel and predicted the killing of many more. But at that time, I did not imagine that the number of colleagues killed would triple, now reaching more than 390. Many others have sustained life-changing injuries or have been arbitrarily detained and tortured. Hundreds of UNRWA premises in Gaza have been damaged or destroyed. Israeli authorities are also increasingly pressuring UN entities to stop working with the agency. You also know that the Parliament of Israel has adopted legislation to end the agency's presence in occupied East Jerusalem. Armed police forcibly shut our school and health facilities, and local authorities cut electricity and water to all premises. The UNRWA headquarters in Sharjah was seized, looted, and set on fire, with senior Israeli officials celebrating the destruction in widely published video footage. We even had a deputy mayor of Jerusalem who called for UNRWA personnel to be annihilated. These attacks are unprecedented in the 80 years history of the United Nations. They violate international law, as recognized by the International Court of Justice, and erode the United Nations Charter. A well-orchestrated disinformation campaign continues. It alleges agency-wide neutrality breaches and asserts that our operations have been replaced in Gaza, where UNRWA remains, as of today, a major provider of primary healthcare, education, clean water, sanitation, and hygiene. The purpose of these unsubstantiated and malicious claims is to justify actions against UNRWA and to undermine member states' support. We are now seeing similar claims being made against other UN entities and international NGOs assisting Palestinian in Gaza. I cannot stress enough that the attacks against UNRWA are not about neutrality or operationality. Rather, they seek to undermine the agency to weaken Palestinians' right within final status issues in the Israel-Palestine conflict. Let me explain. UNRWA does not have a political mandate, but it is intrinsic to protecting Palestinian rights in final status determination through its direct provision of public-like services and through its registration of refugees and archives documenting their historical displacement. In April 2025, to help member states to respond to UNRWA's challenges, the Secretary General commissioned a strategic assessment. It concluded that UNRWA is key to regional peace and security, but faces collapse. The assessment urged member states to reinforce support to UNRWA's operation or to support a transition for the provision of its essential public-like services. Despite the Secretary General appeal for urgent action, there have been no follow-up. In November 2025, at the General Assembly Force Committee meeting on renewing UNRWA's mandate, I underlined that it would be insufficient to extend the mandate without also providing adequate political and financial support. On December 5th, 2025, last December, The mandate, as you know, was renewed for 3 years, but UNRWA's situation has only worsened since then. Since 2019, the agency operates with a negative cash flow following years of chronic underfunding. The suspension of funding in 2024 by 2 major donors, including the agency's largest contributor, left a gaping hole in our finances. This dire financial situation was compounded by a 90% drop in funding provided by Arab states between 2024 and 2025. Significant austerity measures implemented last year have not been enough to address the cash flow shortfalls. And it pains me because I have been compelled to reduce service delivery hours and therefore salaries for most of our local staff by 20%. And without significant new funding, additional painful measures will be required this year. Today, UNRWA remains the largest, best established, most cost-effective UN humanitarian and development presence in the region. I have urged member states to leverage UNRWA's workforce and expertise in Gaza as key asset for the successful implementation of Security Council Resolution 2803. A disorderly collapse of the agency would fuel insecurity, placing the full responsibility for delivering services to Palestinian refugees in the OPT on Israel as the occupying power, and place an enormous burden on Lebanon, Syria, and Jordan as host countries. So, reflecting on the past 2.5 years, I'm appalled that despite UNRWA's crucial role, the agency has not been adequately protected by the international community. The abject failure to muster an effective multilateral and international law-based response to the war in Gaza has set the stage for a war outside the bounds of international law that is now spreading across and beyond the Middle East. It has normalized disdain for the rules-based international order. The attack on United Nations personnel and premises in the OPT must not go unanswered. We cannot allow impunity to further undermine the United Nations and the future of multilateral action. The question member states must answer are clear, and which I will raise again today. Are they going to stand up for a just political solution for the OPT and for Palestinian refugees? Are they going to stand up for international law as called for by the International Court of Justice? Are they going to stand up for the United Nations, including for UNRWA? UNRWA and the wider United Nations system can do a lot and have done a lot, but we need the support of member states if we are to succeed. If member states cannot find a consensus for collective action, the consequences will be catastrophic for a generation or more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Philippe. Thank you so much for these introductory remarks. And before I open the floor to questions, I'd like to also introduce Christelle Younes, who is the new, well, not so new anymore, director of the UNRWA office here in Geneva, an office which has been opened recently so that you meet Christelle, and she will be there also to answer your question and support your work. So I'll open the floor to question now. Who would like to start? Let me see any hands. I am looking. Yes, let's start with Paula, Geneva Solutions.
Good morning. I had a question about the future of UNRWA itself. It was created as a temporary agency initially. I'm just wondering if the mandate itself of UNRWA should potentially change, since we're getting to sort of what you yourself has described potentially a collapse. Is there, do you think that perhaps there may be more of a future if UNRWA becomes potentially a development agency as opposed to providing for just the Palestinian refugees.
Thank you. I think on the way forward, I have been quite explicit recently again with the member states and in my letter to the GA, where basically I'm calling for the agency to retrieve its temporary nature and to be part of the solution within a political process. I have requested that the agency, I would say, workforce, expertise, community trust, be considered as an asset for the implementation of Resolution 2803, that we safeguard the operational space, that critical services continue to be delivered, while at the same time, the agency would also be involved in building the future Palestinian institution, which at the end of a political process would become, in fact, the recipient of the agency activities. I don't think that the solution in the future is to create another agency or development agency. By the way, UNRWA is primarily focusing on the human development of the Palestinian refugees, and otherwise, within the broader UN system, we have, in fact, UNDP, for example, as a key development UN agencies. So what basically I'm calling for is let's retrieve the temporary nature, but for that we need a genuine political process, and for that we need a genuine commitment that we will building up a future Palestinian institution, being empowered to take over.
Nina Larsson, AFP.
Yes, hi. Thanks for doing this briefing, and it's nice to see you again. I was wondering, first, the Israeli parliament yesterday approved a bill allowing for the execution of Palestinians specifically in the West Bank who are convicted of terror charges for deadly attacks. So I'm wondering, how you see that, your reaction to that, and how you see that in the broader context. And you're mentioning the possible collapse of UNRWA. I'm wondering how quickly you think that could actually happen if there isn't a swift reaction. Thank you.
The first part of the question, of course, like many others, have been absolutely appalled by this abject law, which I really hope will be rejected by the Supreme Court. I think I'm not aware of democratic countries reinstating death penalty. We are more used to having countries abolishing death penalties. And on top of that, this would be an extraordinary discriminatory law because it would basically target only one category of the population. On your second question, it all depends on, I think, how fast will be the implementation of the peace plan when it comes to Gaza. We have seen that, entering into stage 2 has been stalled over the last few weeks. The situation in Gaza has been overshadowed by the war right now in Iran. But the real question is, when will this start? And with this framework, what will be the given space to an agency like ours? As of today, what I can say is that against all odds, the agency has expanded its activities in Gaza, especially when it comes to public health, and in public health, it's primary health, vaccination campaign, access to clean water, waste management to prevent communicable disease. And we have also focused a lot on education. I believe that this should be a common top priorities. to bring back into learning environment the hundreds of thousands of girls and boys currently living in the rubble and being deeply traumatized. Now, the agency has, after all the austerity measures of last year, plus the decision taken to reduce the volume of its activities by 20%, we have now a visibility which would lead the agency up to September. Meanwhile, the engagement with the member states to support the agency, and here we have to be clear, the objective is to keep sustained access to critical services for the population. Somehow, we as an agency have to enter into a transitional mindset and ensure that we have a soft landing. And for having a soft landing, that means a proper future recipient. So somehow the future of the agency is very much intertwined with the future of what the political solution will be in the coming months or coming years. It's very difficult to predict a timing because it all depends on who will step in or who will drop, in fact, the support of the agency. We are extremely exposed to, also domestic political dynamic, which will, after that, dictate if a country will keep, increase, or stop the support to the agency.
Thank you very much. Jérémy Lange, RFI.
Merci. Une question sur votre successeur potentiel. On sait que voilà, vous avez un successeur intérimaire en tout cas pendant quelques temps, plusieurs mois peut-être. J'aimerais avoir votre opinion, votre avis sur le portrait robot idéal de la personne qui pourrait prendre votre place sur le long terme. Si vous deviez vous-même auditionner un candidat, quelles sont les qualités requises dans le contexte actuel pour diriger l'UNRWA? Et est-ce que avoir un candidat qui provienne d'un pays donateur important ou ex-pays donateur important, est-ce que ce serait un avantage à votre avis pour la pérennité de l'UNRWA?
Starting is always tough. But then, inspiration strikes. You find your wings. You take flight. Hard work. With pinpoint focus and passion. Arriving is just the beginning. What next? You soar. Even higher. Spread your wings. Realme 16 5G.
I feel like the way you live matters a lot. Don't want anything unnecessary in my life. We're trying to get close to zero. That's why मेरे 50 unnecessary friends नहीं है 4-5 खास यार दोस्त हैं. Unnecessary रिश्तेदारियां मैं होगा नहीं. बुलाना मैं सारे हैं close मैं किसी I feel like it's unnecessary to not show the world how you feel. जो रोना होता है तो रो लो still like a brew. It'll be unnecessary bullshit नहीं होती ना. I'm having the best time of my life. बिल्कुल ऐसे ही मैंने zero बनाया. Zero sugar, 0 calories, nothing unnecessary. Drink up, bro. 0, nothing unnecessary.
La personne qui vient assumer l'intérim est M. Christian Sanders, qui actuellement est déjà sous-secrétaire général à New York. Certains d'entre vous le connaissent. Il avait déjà assuré l'intérim de l'agence entre la période de l'administration précédente et celle des 6 dernières années, en 2019. C'est quelqu'un qui connaît extrêmement bien l'agence, qui, si je ne me trompe pas, avait même commencé sa carrière des Nations Unies avec UNRWA. Donc, pour cette période intérimaire de de gestion de crise pour l'agence, je pense qu'on a la bonne personne. Maintenant, en général, et puis j'ai fait ce commentaire aujourd'hui, l'agence est une agence de développement humain, c'est une agence qui n'a pas de mandat politique, mais qui évolue dans un environnement extraordinairement politisé, polarisé, divisé, où la plupart du temps ce sont les émotions qui priment. Donc il faut effectivement une personne qui connaisse bien la région et qui puisse naviguer ces tensions entre l'apolitisme de l'agence et l'environnement extraordinairement politisé dans lequel on se trouve. Je pense que la personne devra aussi continuer à assurer que l'espace opérationnel de l'agence soit respecté et puis que l'agence joue en fait un rôle pour la mise en œuvre de tout processus politique. Par exemple, au cours des dernières années, on avait été très très actifs dans toutes les discussions liées à la Global Alliance for the Two-State Solution. Cette initiative menée par la Commission européenne et l'Arabie saoudite et qui ensuite s'est conclue par la déclaration de New York, dont la France aussi avait soutenu le projet. Et je pense que le successeur devra s'assurer qu'on fasse partie du débat politique parce qu'on ne va pas pouvoir assurer un atterrissage en douceur ou un atterrissage en isolation et en dehors d'un cadre politique. Je pense que la personne doit venir effectivement d'un pays donateur. Est-ce que c'est pas un pays donateur important ou pas? Je peux juste rappeler que l'Europe représente un peu plus de 60% des contributions de l'agence, entre les contributions bilatérales et celles de la Commission. Traditionnellement, il y a eu un commissaire général venant d'Europe, mais pas seulement. Il y a eu une ou deux exceptions. Donc il faudra voir quand le successeur va être désigné. Ça dépend du secrétaire général, mais comme vous le savez, c'est aussi la dernière année du secrétaire général. La question sera de savoir si une nomination aura lieu avant la fin de l'été ou est-ce que la nomination va être laissée au successeur. Et pour ça, c'est une question qu'il faut poser à New York.
Emma Farge, Reuters.
Good morning, Commissioner General. 2 questions, please. I would like to hear your reading of why stage 2 is taking so long and what it means for the lives of Palestinians, people who still can't get the supplies they need to rebuild their lives. And secondly, given the scale of loss for UNRWA in Gaza, 390 at least, you said, do you think the UN should have a special memorial to commemorate those people? I was thinking of the Canal Hotel in 2003, where there's a memorial and there were far fewer people killed. Have you made any efforts in that regard? Thank you.
Thank you. Why stage 2 is taking so long, I don't know. Why is the Palestinian community, which has been designated 2 months ago, is still not in Gaza? I don't know. This, for the time being, what we know is that very little has been implemented so far when it comes to issues related to rule and order, security, deployment of supervisory forces. But what does it mean for the people in Gaza? I mean, more misery, no doubt about this. We talk about a ceasefire, which seems to be a ceasefire by name. More than 650 people have been killed. There are daily security incidents. People are still living in the rubble in Gaza. They are still queuing hours every day to have access to proper clean water. there is very little prospect to rejoice in Gaza today. So it remains extremely grim, and the more the implementation of the next stage will be stalled, the more desperate people in Gaza will be. We should also never forget that Gaza was already overcrowded before, and today the entire population is kept in half Gaza Strip. We have this new yellow line, which, I mean, is supposed to be a temporary, but as we know in the region, whatever starts temporary has a tendency to last. And question is, how long will it last? When it comes to the second question, there haven't been yet, there have been discussion about a memorial, but it has not yet taken shape per se. There have been quite a number of discussions also about putting in place a fact-finding, a high-level fact-finding committee to identify what happened and responsibilities, because we are talking about an extraordinary high number of staff having been killed, and we are talking about an extraordinary high percentage of premises having been damaged and completely destroyed in Gaza. Part of the reason why this has not operationalized yet is because there is still an ongoing conflict, and on the conflict, the number continue to increase. Then we haven't agreed yet on where such a memorial should be located or not located. Canal Hotel was one event. Here we talk about an open-ended event. So it's, I would say, the thoughts and the thinking are slightly different. But the short answer is yes, it is being discussed, but it has not been yet finalized.
Thank you very much. Isabel Sacco, EFE.
Good morning. Thank you for this press conference. For the clarity for the audience, because sometimes it's difficult to understand how within this hostile environment, UNRWA can be still being, as you said, the major provider of health, education, and other basic services, with a law that prohibits its work, the attacks, the looting of their installations and others. So how it works that you can still be this so important major provider in this environment and in the middle of that provision of its work. Secondly, you said, I think, maybe I am wrong, but did you say that the Arab countries decrease their contributions to UNRWA? If it's that, could you explain this, please? And can you also talk a little bit about the situation in West Bank, which is very, very serious, very grave. So please, thank you.
Let me start with the West Bank. It is true that the situation is underreported. Some people are talking about, kind of a silence war unfolding. Settler violence goes unabated in total impunity. We have seen acceleration of settlement activities. Security operations have led over the last year to one of the biggest displacement of population since 1967. So the situation, there is an atmosphere of fear and angst prevailing in the West Bank, with basically checkpoints having mushroomed all over the territory. When it comes to Gaza, that's a good question, but we have to go back to the nature of the activity of the agency. It is true that on one hand, Israel and others would like to say UNRWA has been replaced. Why? Because if you look at through the lens of food assistance in Gaza, it is true that UNRWA is not bringing convoys into Gaza anymore because we are prevented. We are prevented for more than 18 months. But the activities we are providing primarily are public-like services, our services. So our resources, what we provide to the population is primarily expertise, either through the public health system or through education. So in Gaza, we still have today 100,500 staff who all are from the community, live with the community, and they are nurses, and they will remain nurses. Whether food supply is coming in or not, they will continue to provide daily consultation for primary health care. So that's the reason why our colleagues, against all odds, have been able, in fact, to expand their activities in Gaza, despite all the constraints we are confronted with. You heard correctly. Yes, the contribution of the Arab state between 24 and 25 have significantly dropped by 90%. We had a very generous peak in 2024, end of 23-24. Part of it is being explained by the fact that the agency cannot bring supply into Gaza, and usually Arab states were funding either the construction of schools or healthcare center or humanitarian, urgent humanitarian response in Gaza. So a lot of logistic, and indeed the agency is spending much less when it comes to this type of activities. And traditionally, the Arab countries were not supporting the regular budget of the agency. There are historical reasons behind it. But I also believe that between 24, 25 and today, the reluctance to translate the political support into resources while the agency is confronted to existential threat might also be related to the broader, political environment we are all in. Today, we have a U.S. administration which has clearly stopped and ended the support to the agency, and other countries are wondering if it is a good idea or not to be seen as supporting the agency.
Thank you very much. I'd seen another hand. Oh, you have a follow-up, Paula?
Could you describe a little bit the potential footholds that the Israeli-approved aid groups have now in Gaza? And then I was just wondering if Ms. Yunus can explain a little bit just the role that you have here in Geneva, what you're doing, please.
I'm sorry, I did not get your first question.
There are a number of aid groups that Israel has approved, a very short list apparently, and I was just wondering to what degree they are present in Gaza.
I cannot comment on that because I don't know which list you are referring to and who is into this list. But what I can tell you is that none of these NGOs has a capacity to substitute to the absence of functioning public services, whether previous PA activities or the providing, accredited schooling to hundreds of thousands girls and boys in the Gaza Strip. And again, if the question is related about the future of the agency, there is a very simple answer. Let's genuinely commit to a political solution and to building up empowered and capacitated future Palestinian institution. And that's the way we will resolve.
Do we have time for 2 more questions?
Yeah.
2 more people there.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry?
You want me to respond to the...
Yeah, please. On the part of Geneva. Yes.
Thank you very much. Very quickly, the office in Geneva is meant to be a representation and a humanitarian diplomacy, really, office for UNRWA here. We have been subjected in the past couple of years to major campaigns of disinformation and have found it very important to engage with member states, different stakeholders, the humanitarian community here, the Human Rights Council, etc., to really discuss the role, the key role, as the Commissioner General has mentioned, that UNRWA continues to play in the OPT itself, including through our 11,500 staff in Gaza, our 4,500 staff in the West Bank, and of course our role with Palestine refugees in Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon. It's also essential for us to be part of the discussions around the humanitarian reset and the future of the humanitarian and development multilateral role that the UN is playing. Gaza has been at the forefront of discussions on the relevance of international humanitarian law and on the future of multilateralism. And UNRWA has a very unique voice and perspective on this that we felt is very important to convey in Geneva. Thank you.
Absolutely, and we are happy to have you with us. Sorry, I've said 2 and I've got 3 hands now. Can I go ahead? Nick was waiting. Nick Bruce, the New York Times.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for the briefing. I'd like just to follow up on your answer to Emma's question. And you were referring to the possibility of some kind of inquiry into the circumstances of the death of this very extraordinarily high number of UN people, nearly 400. Where does that sit at the moment? What level of support has it got? Would that come out of the SG's office? Would that come from OHCHR? Would that come from the Commission of Inquiry on OPT? How do you see that being pursued? Because, I mean, yeah, nearly 400 people killed. It's difficult to see how the UN can let that pass without some form of response. Thank you.
The short answer, I don't know about where we stand with this when it comes to OHCHR or the Commission of Inquiry. I primarily had this discussion with the SG office, but also with the member states in New York. It has also been regularly in my call to members of the Security Council or to the GA. I believe that we need to have a panel, a commission, a high-level panel of experts to look into indeed the killing, but not the killing of our staff, but not just UNRWA, but of the UN, because there have been other colleagues who have been also killed, and we have to look also into the extraordinary large-scale destruction of the agency or UN premises in Gaza. Question is, when is the right time to start this? As you know, everything in this context is polarized, and of course, the more time goes, the more difficult the task for the Commission will be in the future.
Thank you very much. 2 quick follow-up. Yeah, Reuters, Emma?
If I'm allowed one more, thank you. It's sort of related to Jeremy's question about leadership of UNRWA going forward. And I understand you have a number 2 from the United States, and that this is somewhat of a tradition within the organization. I'm wondering, do you think that the US should keep this number 2 role going forward, given the status of its current funding? This is obviously an institutional question for you, but it applies across the UN system. Thank you.
Just for the sake of clarification, my number 2 for the first year was first a Norwegian, then a French citizen. And we created a second ASG post within the organization, which has been endorsed by the Fifth Committee 2 years ago. And that's when a second number 2, Antonia Di Meio, became responsible of the entire operations support of the agency. I don't think that this should be questioned. I don't see why. It has not been a recruitment imposed by a given member state at all.
And last, yes, please, Nina.
Thank you. Sorry, in your introduction, you were talking about how the international community has stood by and allowed this to happen. I'm wondering why you think that is. Why has it been possible for the international community to let a UN agency be attacked in the way it has been? And do you think that this has laid the groundwork, or do you see any connection with the impunity, perhaps, that we're seeing now in the broader Middle East? Thank you.
I mean, just to start with the latter, yes, I do believe that there is no Gaza exception, and the extraordinary level of impunity that we have tolerated in the context of Gaza now is spreading. First we had UNRWA being attacked, then we had other UN agencies, then we had other INGOs. Then when we kill health workers or journalists, they are always labeled being Hamas. Today, they are labeled being Hezbollah in Lebanon. So each time we accepted the fact that there is a justification or a license to kill. In Gaza, we have seen unfolding for 2 years atrocities to the extent that it has given the feeling that this war had no rules. All possible red lines have been crossed, and there have never ever been any consequence, whether diplomatic, political, economic, legal, nothing. So we have even seen openly, soldier taking selfies and destroying UN premises or humiliating civilian with total joy and circulating in the social media. And it has never really triggered any proper reaction. Yes, we had a lot of indignation. I think symbolically also what happened at the headquarters in Sharjah in East Jerusalem is extraordinarily outrageous. You have a member of the government, member of the parliament, storming a United Nations compound, enjoying all the privileged immunities of a diplomatic mission or of the United Nations, and they are just jubilating in front of the camera and even disputing who should take credit of this blatant violation. And all this has only triggered some words of condemnation, nothing else. But it is also a context where we are used to that. But if we accept it today with UNRWA, there is no reason why another UN agency will not be targeted at a given time or in other diplomatic mission, whether in East Jerusalem or elsewhere. So yes, there is quite a lot of disappointment vis-à-vis this inaction or passivity. Why so? Possibly because it is one of the most divisive, polarizing contexts. We have seen that the horrible massacre of October 7 have not only traumatized Israel, but reverberated in Europe and across the world. And the conflict also and the response also has reverberated the same way. But wherever we go, we have the feeling that governments somehow are also paralyzed because of the division of their own, I would say, domestic constituencies. That's the only explanation I can give, but also maybe an absence of proper courage and leadership might also explain this.
Maybe the answer is short. Did you have any contact with leaders of the so-called peace of board to see what is you said before, what is the role of UNRWA in the context that they imagine?
It all depends on what you have in mind when you talk about the Board of Peace. Yes, we are in contact with a number of its members, since we have a number of countries having joined the Board of Peace, and many countries are from the region. So we are constantly, in fact, in contact with them. And we have also the technical committee, the Palestinian technical committee, which has been put in place in Cairo, with whom we are also in regular contact. Do we have contact with every level? Not really, but we have ways to engage with a member of the Board of Peace.
I would like to apologize. There have been people waiting on the platform, but we really have to close here, and I'm sorry for that. But I'm sure you will be able to continue working, especially with Christelle here in Geneva. So let's conclude this press conference. I would like to say thank you very much, Philippe. We have been blessed with your input, your constant presence in Geneva, your contribution to our media activities, which has been really fantastic. I would really like to thank you so very much for this. We'll miss you. We are ready to work with your successor, of course, but I have to say, I will miss you. We will all miss your humanity and your incredible knowledge and contribution to this incredibly difficult cause in a moment where your agency has been particularly targeted. So thank you, and the UN. So thank you very, very much for all of this, and we wish you the very, very best for your future. Thanks. Come back, visit us from time to time. We will continue working with your successor and with Christelle. I've sent the journalist your email, Christelle, in the chat, so they will be able to continue this conversation. Thanks again. Thank you all for following this press conference. All the very best, and I'll see you in 5 minutes for the press conference, for the press briefing. Thank you.
You are in the meeting now. Recording in progress.
Hello, Corinne. Could you please unmute yourself and put your camera so we can do a quick test? Hello, Asir. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Good, good. Okay, so if we can just maybe make the camera a bit far away from your face to have a it's better. Yeah, like this. Okay, and if you can say just one sentence so we can hear you talk.
Hello, good morning from Damascus.
Okay, perfect. And maybe if you can a bit move your camera so we don't see the heating down.
Okay. Yeah. Or no.
No, you can move it from the other side, like maybe to.
No.
No, but it's okay. It's okay. Don't worry. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Corinne. How are you?
I'm very well, and you?
Good, thank you. I'm just gonna test your audio for 1 minute. If you can just say one sentence, please.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Limelight diamonds are not mined. They are lab grown with science, care and purpose. क्योंकि ये सिर्फ jewelry नहीं, ये एक mindset shift है. This is what real looks like. Limelight lab grown diamonds. Let's get real.
Crompton, shaping a bold new language of design, chiseled to perfection. seamless, flawless. Introducing Crompton Fluido BLDC fans with fine tuning of speed. Sculpted, not made.